Welcome back to Yoga Berry, your yoga for scoliosis community. I'm Christine Jareggi-Berry. I'm a yoga teacher and I specialize in yoga for scoliosis. And today's video is all about adjusting a very common yoga pose, side angle pose, for your scoliosis curvature. And I'm particularly talking about S-curve scoliosis today. So I've got my lovely top here just to make it a little bit more visual for you. So hopefully you find this useful. All that you will need for the practice is a chair. So I've got a yoga chair here, but just any simple chair will do. So if you get this ready and then join me on the mat. Side angle pose is a particularly beneficial yoga pose for scoliosis because it opens the whole of the side of the body, which can be obviously sometimes a little bit compressed. So if you have got quite a severe curve, you might even have the hip bone and the ribs touching, or you might feel that the one side of the lungs is really compressed, especially if you have quite a severe thoracic curve. So very, very important, even for mild scoliosis. Very important to open the sides of the body. So I'm going to start on my left side, but before we do, let's look at the curve for a moment. So this is an example of a left lumbar, right thoracic curve. So this, just imagine this part here, and it's not, obviously this is not completely realistic. Let's say this is not a realistic spine, but it does show which sides we need to lengthen and which sides we need to shorten. So if you see that little dip here, so this is the concave side of the lumbar spine. This is what we want to open and lengthen. And then this is the concave side here of the thoracic spine, again, which we want to open. And that's exactly what we're going to do in these poses and by adjusting it. Good. So I'm starting with my left foot just underneath the chair. And I want to bring it quite closely in towards the chair so that when I bend my knee, I'm just kind of touching the edge of the chair, and then the back foot is turned in like so. Good. So as we are here, let's come into warrior two for a moment. So we're just going to take the arms out to the sides, and this is a lovely kind of pose to center yourself before you go into the pose. And then once you're here, just think about lengthening through the whole of the spine. So some people, I sometimes see kind of this slightly attacking warrior, so you're shooting forwards, but we want to kind of stay in the center and lift up through the chest, lifting up through the crown of the head. Good. And then from there, I'm going to bring my right hand onto the right waist, just so I can sort out my left arm. I'm going to bring this onto the seat of the chair, and then I can really work on rotating the chest up. And you can already see this is quite nice for my lumbar curve. So this actually opens the right side of the waist. Now the traditional pose would be taking the arm up over the head. Obviously, if you have an S-curve, you don't want to make the thoracic curve worse. So you don't want to overstretch the rib cage here. So how about we just keep the hand here, keep it on the waist, and then we work on the rotation a little bit. And we know that there is a rib hump. Obviously, there's this side that kind of protrudes backwards a little bit. So we're just asking for the shoulder blade to go kind of back, in, and down. So we're just enjoying that rotation here. And then you could lift the arm, but just notice if I'm lifting my arm, I'm not going further into a side bend. I'm just kind of staying a little bit more, I'm being a little bit more conservative here and really thinking about that rotation, which is actually a really lovely de-rotation as well, allowing for the shoulder blade to come back and down. Good. And then I'm slowly bringing myself up. Good. So this was the left side. Let's see what the other side brings. So I'm going to bring the chair over. Placing it here. Position of the legs is the same. So just notice that my knee is hopefully directly over the ankle. And I'm just slightly touching the edge of the chair here. This is quite nice to give me some information, some feedback of if I'm moving around a lot with the legs. Good, and then let's come into the warrior two for a moment. Just to kind of ground and center and lifting up through the crown of the head, reaching through the fingertips, so extending through both arms. And see if you can really notice that contact of the feet with the ground. It's really lovely and strengthening pose for the legs. Good, and then let's take this into the side angle pose. Bring the left hand onto the waist. Just going to bring the right hand onto the chair. Now, just notice what this has done, possibly to my lumbar curve. So just from here, I've gone down here. So this has actually made my lumbar curve worse. Don't know if you agree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up onto my fingertips. So I don't want to go too low. So I'm just using the chair for that little bit of stability. So I'm coming up slightly and I'm working really hard at keeping the side of the length of the waist long. I could even have something higher on here. So I could have like a yoga block, for example, and then bring my hand on there. But just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to rest my fingertips. But I'm definitely a little bit higher than I was on the other side. Good, and then let's think about the thoracic curve. Now, this side obviously does need to open. So let's extend the arm over and let's enjoy that little bit of opening. So I'm slightly exaggerating here with the upper body, where I'm really breathing into the side of the rib cage without making my lumbar curve worse though. So I'm not bending over from the waist, it's just here from the upper spine, and then just kind of breathing into the side of the rib cage. And then can you also imagine breathing into the left back of the rib cage. So this is the place that is squashed and that is compressed, that needs that little bit more space. Good. Let's take another breath. I'm really enjoying this. And then let's come all the way up. Good, and then while you're here, you could come into a forward bend. So I've turned my feet, outer edges of the feet parallel to the outer edges of the mat. Inhale, lifting the chest, and then exhale, just folding forward for a moment. So we just want to come back into a symmetrical position after those asymmetric poses. Good, and then to come up, I'm just going to press the feet into the ground, coming up with a long spine and release. Good, so I hope you enjoyed this little practice. It's a very good example of how we adjust the yoga poses in yoga for scoliosis, adjusting them completely to your yoga, to your scoliosis curve. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this, then do join us for one of the 4 weeks courses where we really go into detail about this. Good. I hope you enjoyed this, and I see you very soon for the next video.